This is our first time homebuyer workshop, What You Need to Know, presented by us, the Golden Palms Group.
And what we're going to be talking about today are sort of just the main points of what it really means to be a first-time home buyer, the steps that you have to take as a first-time home buyer, and really try to go in depth on all the main points. And of course, any other questions that you guys have, then we will open up chat and you can always reach out directly to us with any other questions or clarifications. But mainly, we're going to talk about getting pre-approved for a mortgage, choosing a realtor, and especially with the recent real estate changes that just took effect last August, which we'll get into a little bit more, why choosing a realtor now more than ever is super, super important. Looking at homes, making an offer once you do find your dream home, and the escrow process, the home inspection process, and the closing process.
So, a little bit about us. We are the Golden Palms Group with Real Broker. We are a full-time team and we primarily serve Sarasota County and Charlotte County right here in beautiful Florida. We are licensed to work with any property in the whole state, but we mostly stay in those two counties because that's where we are experts. So if you're looking in a different area, we would connect you to someone else, like someone that we've worked with in the past. So if it's Naples, we have connections there pretty much around the whole state. But this still applies to you because this is all about working in the state of Florida. We work with both buyers and sellers, but one of our specialties is first-time home buyers because we love seeing that dream come true for people like you, making sure that the home buying experience is memorable, the least amount of stress possible, and it should be fun. It's an exciting time in your life. Getting pre-approved for a mortgage. So unless you're paying cash for your home, the first step in the whole process is getting pre-approved, which is probably the part that people want to skip because the fun part is looking at homes on Zillow, Realtor, you're wondering what you can afford. But to be honest, doing this first will bring you so much clarity, and it also makes our job easier in helping you because we can put together homes that actually match what you're pre-approved for. And also, some sellers will ask for the pre-approval. So say you want to go see a home, you ask us to schedule that, they might ask for the pre-approval before we can even see the home. So again, just having this as the first step is so important.
And also, when it does come time to make an offer on a home, we have to include that pre-approval letter with the offer. So what we don't want to see happen, and unfortunately what we have seen happen all too often, if we don't have a pre-approval letter in place, we find your dream home, you want to make an offer, but we actually can't. And then in that day or two, or sometimes longer that it takes to get you pre-approved, somebody else swoops in underneath you, puts in an offer who is ready, and then you miss out on the home. So definitely by far the most important step, get pre-approved. And really that leads us into our next topic, which is the importance of working with a quality lender. So really outside of having a great realtor, the next most important thing for anybody, whether you're a first-time home buyer or not, is having a quality lender. Okay, period. I mean, we literally cannot stress this enough. Florida is basically what is known as a time is of the essence state when it comes to real estate. And what that essentially means is that all of your contractual obligations as a buyer, as well as all of the various deadlines that are in a real estate contract, are taken very seriously in Florida, and they absolutely have to be abided by. A lot of other states are way more lax in these terms. Florida is not, period. So having a lender that can meet their deadlines on time, that's experienced, that knows what they're doing is so, so critical. Really, a lot of your obligations as a buyer really fall on the lender's responsibility. Basically meaning that if they fail to meet those obligations and deadlines on your behalf, you as the buyer can actually be considered in breach of contract which means that your deposit that you have to put down on a home can potentially be at risk. You can also open yourself up to other legal action by the seller, just because your lender didn't perform. And again, with the way that Florida works, if your lender doesn't perform, the state basically sees that as you not performing. So bad lender equals bad problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really important. So the next part of the pre-approval process, and again, working with a quality lender, is making sure that you have your lender pre-approve you for an accurate amount. We see it all too often where you can get approved for too high of an amount, or maybe not enough. If you get pre-approved for too high and we put in the offer, what can happen is the deal may fall through at the very end. During the closing process, once you get your offer accepted, the lender, their underwriting department, basically the department that reviews your file and makes sure that all of the lending items are taken care of along the way, they will run multiple checks throughout the process. And one of their most stringent checks comes sometimes literally the day before or the day of closing on the home. And if your lender originally pre-approved you for too high of an amount that you actually can't qualify for, that's when the deal is going to fall through. You've waited 30 days, 45 days to close, and then all of a sudden, because your lender didn't do their due diligence and pre-approve you for an accurate amount, the deal very well may fall through at the end. So super important. We could really go on and on and on about the importance of having a quality lender, but again, for the purposes of this course and just general knowledge, bottom line, having a fantastic lender is just literally a non-negotiable. There's no other way around that. It'll save you, it'll save us, or whoever your realtor is, a ton of headaches, and really just make sure that the transaction goes smooth versus very, very potentially rocky. If you don't already have a preferred lender, good news, we have a ton of quality lenders that we can put you in touch with. And that's just a free service we offer. No obligation, no cost, nothing like that. Just let us know.
Yeah, and I just want to touch really quick because I do see there's quite a bit going on in the chat. And we have a question from Kimberly and Mike Conway. So I'm just going to read it. We have owned houses before, not just here. Will this presentation address the Northport market in particular?
So we can talk about the Northport market in particular at the end. This presentation doesn't directly address where the market is, but we can certainly touch on that at the end. Ashlyn, since
Yeah.
you have more access to the chat, if you can just remind me of that and everything,
Yes.
and we can
Yeah.
also go through the rest of the chat at the end, and we can answer any questions. If that's like a burning desire topic, I can touch very quickly on it. Right now, most of Southwest Florida, most of Florida in general, is in a declining market, meaning prices have come down significantly. In fact, I think there was just a report that was recently released that homes in Northport, prices in Northport, I should say, are going down faster than anywhere in the entire country. And we can certainly corroborate that that
Mm-hmm.
is probably very accurate. And like I say, it's not really just Northport, it's most of Southwest Florida. We're feeling it down here in Venice, Sarasota, all kinds of other areas, which opens up the door. That's a fantastic question. I'm actually really glad that you asked that early on, because as a buyer right now, it is a great time to buy compared to a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. We sort of saw the height of the market in this area around like mid 2022 going into early 2023. And really every day since then, prices have come down, 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 down. And so if you have waited a little bit to find something, you're going to certainly pay a lot less now than you would have just a few years ago. Buyers really have so much leverage right now because of where the market's at. And again, before I get too carried away here, we'll end it on that for now. But great question. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And we will touch a little bit more on that at the very end. And any other questions you have about that, we are happy to address.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that because I know Northport is such a popular place, and We have a lot of people looking in Northport right now. What we can do for you is have a market report that goes out to you knowing that you're interested in Northport specifically. So we can put that together so you can stay on top of like what is going on in Northport. Okay, going to the topic of choosing your realtor. You've been approved. It's time to hire your realtor. So, just like lenders, not all realtors are created equal. And it's important to choose someone who knows what they're doing and someone that you get along with, you know, like, and trust them. Last summer, there was a big real estate change that took place. And if you think of it like this, it is now similar to when you go to sell your home and you have a listing agreement, you pick one realtor to represent you or a team. The same thing is now for buyers. So you choose a buyer's agent to represent you. You actually have a agreement with that person that makes them exclusive. If you're working with a team like us, that would just apply to both of us. This representation agreement is actually something that's always been around and we have always used it because it's mutually beneficial to you as a buyer and to us as realtors. However, it is now a requirement that has to be done before you can hire a realtor for services beyond just basic conversation like we're having today. We can't even submit an offer without that agreement. So it is super important now more than ever to talk to multiple realtors, find someone that feels like a good fit for you. So whether that's in person or virtual consultation, take the time to go through those steps because it'll make a big difference. And of course, we have free consultations in person and virtually.
Very great. And I will add to that part of that agreement before we can even see homes anymore, or I should say before you as a buyer can even see homes, that also includes virtual appointments. This agreement has to be in place. So we literally can't even go show you anything. We can't go take a video. We can't provide any broker service, which includes price opinions, XYZ, like Ashlyn was saying, really much past basic conversation. We can't really do anything for you anymore until this agreement is signed, which makes it super, super important to book that in person or virtual consultation. It only takes like 30 minutes. It's super quick. But again, by far, one of the most important steps in finding a realtor is to set that appointment, make sure you guys are a good fit for each other, and then move forward from there. So just really quickly, I added this. This is what the buyer broker agreement looks like, and we won't go too much into it, but let me see if I can get this to work. Like Ashlyn was saying, we've always used this. We simply would not do business without it. And as a buyer, you honestly would not want to do business with a realtor without this because it also outlines all of the legal responsibilities that we owe to you as our client. Without this, in the past, technically, your realtor may not owe you that much, honestly, which is a very scary thing. We take pride when we work with somebody in actually representing them and keeping their best interest at heart and at mind. And with or without this agreement, we would operate that way because of just who we are as people. But nonetheless, with this agreement in place, it makes it all legal and protects both sides. Sort of how it protects us is that, especially in Florida, there are more realtors in Florida than any other state in the country. What we see happen all the time is that a realtor will do work for somebody for, say, 6 or 12 months or even longer. All of a sudden, that person has a family member who gets their real estate license. And of course, they go put in the offer with that person, and we sort of just get left high and dry. So that's sort of how it protects us, just to make sure that our time is well invested. And then as far as how it protects you, here's sort of all the things that we owe you, or not all, but just kind of a synopsis of the main things. Always dealing honestly and fairly. To me, that's one of the biggest ones. Why would you want to work with someone in any profession who is not going to treat you fairly and honestly? Being loyal to you. If you look at our business card or any of our other material, one of our core principles is loyalty. We fully believe in that. But again, nonetheless, this document makes that official. Confidentiality, okay, not going and telling the whole world or the other side where you are in your offer, anything about your financial information, or really anything at all for that matter. Obedience, okay, full disclosure, accounting for all funds, skill, care, and diligence in the transaction. presenting all offers in a timely manner, and disclosing all known facts that materially affect the value of the home. This is also a seller obligation. Any seller in Florida has to disclose anything that they're aware of that materially affects the value of the home. Otherwise, they are opening themselves up for big time legal stuff. Okay. We also have to do that. If there was ever something that we knew about the house, it is our job to disclose that to you to make sure that nothing is being hidden. So anyway, that's kind of a breakdown of that. And like Ashlyn was saying, that is now required. Let me see if I can get out of this and back to the presentation. Does that still look good on your side, Ashlyn?
Yeah, just hit present.
There we go. Okay.
There you go. The fun part, looking at homes. This is the part that everyone skips to because it's so exciting. But when you're pre-approved, you have your buyer broker agreement, you're ready to hit the ground running. This is the fun part that we love so much. So now that we know what you're pre-approved for, and sometimes even a lender will have certain things in there like a limit maybe to an HOA, maybe a condo fee, also flood zone plays a big role in your approval. So we take all of this information plus what you've told us is important to you, things that are like deal breakers. We hit the ground running, putting together a custom list, and we send that to you, and we update it every single day. So we check what's new, what's available, what might be a good fit, and we send that to you. And of course, if you find things on your own, you can always reach out to us and ask us questions. We can double check, see why it was not on our list, that sort of thing. And then we just pick out homes that you want to see. So if you want to spend a whole day, we like to stick to 5 homes per session. We have learned through many showings that if you go over 5, and sometimes even at 5, they literally start blending together in your mind. It is so hard to have a quality experience when you're looking at more than 5. So that's where we like to keep it. And the goal of every showing is for you to become clearer and clearer on what you're liking and what you're not. So this process, while it's the most fun, it can also be surprising to learn what maybe you weren't sure that you were actually looking for or don't like. So use that time to figure out what your ultimate dream home is.
Very well said. And once we have found the one, okay, we kind of joke sometimes like looking at homes and finding a home is often like a soulmate type of situation or like a love first type of situation. Like oftentimes through our experience, when you find the one, you know, it's like a light bulb moment. We can see it sometimes even before you do. But nonetheless, however that winds up working for you, once we do find the one, it's time to actually make the offer. Okay. And this is where having an experienced realtor who really knows the local market and also how to prepare a purchase contract is so important. Okay. Your realtor should really go through the process of running comps. You've probably heard this a million times. If you haven't, running comps, or short for comparables, is essentially looking at similar homes that have recently sold to give an idea of what the home that you're looking at will ultimately sell for. Okay, kind of combining that with our local knowledge as experts in our local market sort of allows us to give you a range of what we genuinely think the home will sell for. I always joke, like, if we have one superpower in real estate, it's value in a property. We're really, really good at it and we're really proud of it. But nonetheless, whenever we tell you what we think it'll sell for, the offer is ultimately up to you. Okay. You can agree with us. You can say, no, I think that's too low. No, I think that's too high. I want to offer this. That is completely up to you. We are just here to give you an honest opinion and help try to guide you to give you confidence in what we genuinely think the house will sell for. Okay. Something that is extremely important to remember that not a lot of people in our experience really understand, at least at first, is that when it comes to making an offer, an offer goes way beyond the purchase price. Okay. There are a lot of other terms in a real estate contract that can strengthen or weaken the offer, and very potentially significantly too. We see it all the time where a seller will accept a lower purchase price. Let's say we have 2 or 3 offers on a home. A seller may want to go with the lowest offer price because all of the other terms are more favorable. Okay. So something to keep in mind. Make sure your realtor understands this and that they can guide you through this. With that said, I just wanted to quickly show you, this is Florida Realtors actually provides realtors with 3 different contracts that we can use. Of those 3, you pretty much see 2 of them almost all the time. And of those 2, you see this one right here, the as is contract, about 95 to 99% of the time. And really the only difference between this one and the second most popular one is like 1 or 2 little things. I'm not even going to get into that right now, but just so you know, this is basically when it comes time to make your offer, this is most likely the contract that is going to be used. And it is pretty extensive. Okay. So we have 13 pages of different things. Sorry. We have 13 pages. Okay. And I'm not going to go through what everything is, but you can see that. Let me go back here. Here's purchase price right here on line 27. Okay. We have all kinds of other things, whether it's a cash or financing transaction, whether this, whether that, who's paying for this, who's paying for that, different dates in here. How quick can we close? That's something that affects an offer big time. Can you close in 30 days? Are you going to need 60, 90? Some sellers won't even sniff an offer that has a closing date past a certain amount. So again, just an example there. But you can see that this is not just basically, I will give you $300,000 for this house. Okay, awesome. Sounds good. It was way, way more in depth than that. And again, that's why it's really important to have somebody who is representing you that understands what they're doing and how they can best prepare this contract to fit your needs and to represent you to the fullest that they can.
Yeah, I just want to throw in there really quick that while it looks intimidating, it's a legal contract. That's why we are here, is we value being transparent. So when we're making an offer, we go through it one step at a time to figure out what makes the best sense to give you your offer the most strength. But it's also to explain what your offer is. And I think a lot of people just jump through the hoops. They sign something, they don't know what they've signed. That's not how we want you to ever feel working with us. We want you to feel confident in knowing what you're signing and agreeing to.
Absolutely. And okay, so once we submit the offer, okay, we've gone through all those terms. And as Ashlyn said, it's really not as scary as it looks. That's what we're here for. But nonetheless, we want to make sure that you understand what you're offering before you just sign. There's basically 3 things that can happen. Okay, the seller can either accept the offer flat out, they can counter the offer, and they can counter on many different terms. Okay, again, not just purchase price. They can counter on anything they want in there, or they can decline the offer. Okay, the goal is to not have them decline. If they decline the offer, that means it was just a super weak offer. We probably, for the most part, would not even, like, I don't want to say let you get there, but if we felt that you were putting in like an insulting offer, we would at least say, hey, we think this is super low. You do run the risk. If you want to submit this offer, we're happy to do it for you. But you do run the risk of the seller saying like, wow, that was insulting. I don't even want to counter. I don't even want to work with these people. So that's something that can definitely happen. Most of the time, they'll either accept or counter. Typically, they'll counter. Okay, if they flat out accept without countering, like, it is celebration time. We are so happy. It's pretty rare that that happens. But again, back to Kimberly's point with where the market is right now, we're actually seeing that happen a lot more often than in previous years, because it is extremely difficult to sell down here right now. So to even get an offer right now on a lot of homes is a celebration. And oftentimes sellers aren't wanting to really poke the bear and counter too much or at all. They're just going to take your offer and run. So again, depending how strong the offer is, most of the time we will even still see a counter, but sometimes just getting it accepted is still happening. If they do counter the offer, you and your realtor can discuss what the counter offer is, how many points the seller is counter offering on, and you can either choose to accept their counter, or we can play the game back and counter their counter. Okay, and we can counter their counter, and they can counter our counter, and we can counter their as many times as it takes to hopefully come to terms and make everybody happy. If at any point we get to a situation where it's just like they're holding out, they're being tough, it doesn't make sense to us anymore, or rather to you anymore, we can just say, okay, you know what, we're going to move on to another property. Forget it, we can't make this work, let's just move on to something else. Okay, so we can always do that. You're never locked in. If you don't want to be, if we can't come to terms, we simply can't come to terms, and we'll move on and find another home. Once we do, however, come to terms and all paperwork is signed by both the seller and the buyer, you are officially what's called under contract. Okay, you've probably heard under contract before. That just means that everyone has agreed to terms, everyone has signed, and the home is officially taken off the market and reserved for you. That's when the closing process, aka the escrow process, another word you've probably heard, begins. As soon as we get that offer accepted, us or your realtor, whoever that is, will send that contract to the title company or the attorney, whoever we wind up choosing for a title company or a closing agent. Again, someone we have multiple fantastic recommendations. If you haven't worked with a title company or an attorney or closing agent before, that's where the escrow process begins, which is essentially just the process where all of the buyer and seller obligations that are outlined in that contract must be met before the actual transfer of ownership can happen, before those keys can drop into your hand. Okay, seller has to meet their end of the obligations. You have to meet your end of the obligations, including lender obligations, all that fun stuff. That's why we really need that 30 to 45 days to close on a house to take care of all of that stuff. Okay. Next is going into the home inspection process. This is like make a bunch of stars, notes, don't forget inspection. By far one of the most, if not the single most important part of the closing process. Okay. So as soon as we go under contract, you as a buyer are entitled to have one or more home inspections performed on the home by anyone that you choose. We always recommend hiring a professional inspection company to conduct that. But if you're someone who's savvy in that type of work or know a friend or family member who is, you can always have that person or those people perform the inspection. You can also hire a professional and have a family or friend do an inspection of their own also, okay? There are a lot of professional inspection companies. Again, we have recommendations if you would like one. And really depending on the type of the home, the different features of the home, yada, yada, we can recommend what type of inspection or inspections should be done, whether we think that you should just do a general home inspection. If you're buying a home that has a septic system, you absolutely have to do a septic inspection. Okay, that costs anywhere between like $300 and $500 extra dollars. But if you buy a home that has a failing septic tank, you're going to pay $10,000 to $20,000 for a new septic tank. So by spending that $300 to $500 extra to learn that either the septic is in good shape and you're good to go, that buys peace of mind right there. Or if it is failing, for example, we can ask the seller to either have it fixed or to give you a credit of, say, $15,000 at closing to have that done in the future. Okay. And something important to remember too, when we go under contract during the inspection process, as a buyer, we have a ton of leverage if we do find something that is wrong with the home that we didn't know about prior to making the offer, such as a failing septic tank. Because if we choose at any point in that inspection period to cancel the contract, we can do so. You get your deposit back, walk away completely scot-free, and now the seller has to go back on the market after spending all of that time off the market. So as a seller, you would be much more inclined, especially in this market, to make a fix or to give a credit at closing so you can hire somebody after you close on the home to take care of that issue, versus just saying, oh, whatever, let's skip the home inspection. We think everything is fine. Bottom line, never skip the home inspection, okay? So important. Can't stress that enough? And really, like I was saying, the main point of the inspection is just to verify the condition of the home and to make sure that there aren't any major issues that we were not aware of. Sort of making the offer, we should have taken into account everything that we know about the home or that we can readily observe. If we know that there's a giant hole in the wall, okay, that should be factored into our initial offer. We shouldn't really ask the seller to fix that after the inspection because we sort of already knew about it prior. It's really just to find anything major that we weren't aware of when we originally made the offer. And if that is found, like I say, we can ask to have it fixed or to have you given a credit back to fix it yourself. Something super, super important. I already talked about this. Okay. We typically recommend having a credit given to you from the seller at closing. That way you can hire somebody who you trust to do the work. Otherwise, if we have the seller, fix something, they can have old Joe Schmo, the neighbor, who is not qualified to do the work, come do the work, and then you're in a worse position than you were beforehand. Okay. So in most cases, we typically recommend getting a credit, and that way you can just do the work yourself. If it's something that doesn't require as much of a expertise or something like that, we can always ask the seller just to fix it. We will talk about that type of stuff as it comes up and really treat everything as a case by case basis. And as I was mentioning earlier, let's say we did find a failing septic system. We asked the seller to give us $15,000 back. They said, absolutely not. I'm not giving you a penny. At that point, we can decide whether it makes sense for you to move forward still or not. And again, if not, we can cancel the contract as long as it's within that inspection period, which is typically about 7 to 10 days, but another negotiable term between you and the seller, which we can help with. As long as it's within that time period, we can cancel. You get your money back, your deposit, and you walk away. We'll find something else.
Yeah, and I think it's important to throw in because Northport and septic systems are very common. There's the reason why people love Northport is because it's very much affordable. You're close to the beach for a lesser price than Venice, but you also get more land in Northport. You get more for your money in general, but a lot of that also means there's a lot of things like septic. We'll just talk about the home inspection process and closing. So this inspection period, which is always negotiable, I know Kyle talked about this in the contract, is also the time where you can cancel and back out for any reason. We do not have to give a reason to the other side. It could be something that you're uncomfortable with that you find inspection wise. Maybe we can't come to terms negotiating, that sort of thing. But you can back out for any reason. And it's really important to work with a realtor who is very clear with you on like, today's the last day of our inspection period. Are we good to go? That is your time where you also get your earnest money back if we cancel within that time period. So it's just super important to take it step by step. So we're pretend that we're through inspection period, got the green light. Now it's at the title company. That whole process is going on. And in the final 1 to 2 weeks before the closing date, the title company will reach out to you to coordinate a time to close. So that could mean coming to their office. That's when you sign all the paperwork, you get your keys. They can also do it remotely if you are not going to be in town. And the one step, I know we say this actually quite a bit, like this is so important, that's so important. But one step that is so important is the final walkthrough. So you're entitled to a final walkthrough either the day before closing or the day of closing. And we recommend doing it on the day of closing. And the reason why it's so important is that walkthrough is to make sure that the home is in the same condition that it was when we went under contract. So even if you're thinking, we can do it the day before or 2 days before, what's the big deal? Well, what if the air conditioner goes out in between that final walkthrough and signing the paperwork? So that's just one example of wanting to make sure that everything is good before you sign off and get those keys. So we like to try to do it, say like 9 o'clock in the morning. We all go, we walk through their home, we just make sure everything's looking the same, nothing crazy is happening, Also making sure that they've removed their personal items. That's a really big one. And then if it's all good, head off to the title company, sign, and get the keys. So it's a really exciting time, but again, just another step that's super important.
One of the last things we want to talk about, Hometown Heroes. This is a program that just launched. Well, it launches every year, but it just launched, I think, August 16th. So like a couple weeks ago. And what it is, it's a down payment and closing cost assistance program for first-time homebuyers who work in Florida more than 35 hours a week. Okay. And there are all kinds of different occupations that qualify. So if you are interested in receiving down payment and closing cost assistance, which yes, you are, everybody is, let us know and we can put you in touch with our lender who works with Hometown Heroes to see if you qualify and for how much. They will lend up to $35,000. Okay. And the fantastic thing about Hometown Heroes, it's technically considered a second mortgage, but there is no interest and it is only paid back when you sell the home or transfer ownership some other way. So if you like transfer it to a family member or something like that, you would have to pay it back. But really, as long as you are still living in that home, unless you sell it or rent it out, if it becomes like a rental property, I think they have some restrictions on that. But for the most part, as a first time home buyer, most people are planning to live in that home for a while. You would only have to pay this back once that property sells on the back end, and the title company would basically handle all of that and just take funds from the purchase and distribute it. That way you can keep out of pocket the most possible. Sometimes this will cover all of your down payment and closing costs. Sometimes it'll cover, the vast majority, but nonetheless, getting up to $35,000 up front that you don't have to pull out of pocket to get you into a home, as well as getting a loan that requires a small down payment to begin with. That way, if you are left to have to put anything down, it's likely going to be a very small amount. Hometown Heroes is fantastic. We love, love, love them. We've helped so many first timers use this program and get into a home with very little to absolutely nothing down. I think a very common misconception is that you have to put down 20% on a home. That is simply not true. There are all kinds of loans out there and all types of different programs that will allow you to put as little as 3.5% down. And again, involving Hometown Heroes, if all you need is 3.5% and they're giving you 10,000 to 35,000, I believe the minimum is 10,000 too. So at minimum, you'll get 10 grand. They're not giving, only a couple $100 out to some people here and there. You get a minimum of 10,000 up to a maximum of 35,000. Again, that will often cover all of your down payment and closing costs. So let us know if you want to see if you qualify for this program, and we're happy to put you in touch with our senior loan officer who can see if you can.
Super exciting. And I just want to throw in there that last summer, we got some new first-time home buyers, specifically in Northport, who were interested in Hometown Heroes. And for a year, they worked on getting ready to buy a home this summer. And we are watching that dream come true with the help of Hometown Heroes. So it's a really awesome program. And being a first-time home buyer, sometimes you need time to plan and get ready to actually purchase your first home. So if you're interested in getting started, you can with us. Go to the next slide. Thank you for coming. That is our QR code again. If you scan that, it'll save our information directly into your phone. And of course, we would love to help you answer any questions for you. If you know you want to get started, reach out, let us know. We can schedule a consultation either virtually like this, where we talk more about what you're looking for, your plan, any questions you might have, and ultimately decide if we all want to work together. If you need a lender, we have amazing connections. And of course, we are always here for you. No question is stupid. We enjoy working with first-time homebuyers, and I promise that if it seems overwhelming, we take you step by step And at the end of the day, our job is to get you in a dream home and have you thrive.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.